Oh, here we go. Here we live. I'm sorry.
All right.
Here we go.
MashaAllah, it's working. Alhamdulillah.
Barakallahu fikum, inshallah. I'll catch you
Ameen.
later. Inshallah, we'll talk.
Inshallah. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi tayyibin at-tahirin. I bear witness that no one deserves to be worshipped except Allah Ta'ala, the one who has no partner and no similar, the one who has no length and no width and no depth and no perimeter, the one who is not a volume and is not in a place. And how could he be in a place when he existed before time and space? He created everything except himself, including you and your actions. Nothing occurs except by his will, both good and bad, he destined to happen. He speaks without sound, letter, or language, not Arabic, Hebrew, nor Korean. He's not light, he's not a spirit, he has nothing in common with human beings. He's not in the direction of up, down, right, left, front, nor back. And whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is different than that. And I bear witness that our noble, unrivaled master, Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the slave of Allah, his final messenger, and the best of all of God's creations. May Allah unite us with him in paradise and grant us a drink from his basin. And may Allah increase us in patience, humility, knowledge, and comprehension, and help us to put our knowledge into practice and grant us all sincere intentions. Ameen. This is the book we're continuing in, The Straight Path, As-Siratul Mustaqim, by the Allama Abdullah al-Harari. May Allah have mercy on him. Ameen. We've made it to page number 262. Page what? 262. Page 262. In the middle of the page, this section has a title called Al-Hawd, the Basin. So just to remind you where we are in the text, we're talking about some of the things which our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned about the Day of Judgment. Okay, we've already mentioned, for example, the resurrection and the gathering and the balance and the presentation of the deeds. We mentioned the sirat, the bridge that goes over the hellfire. Okay, and now we've made it to the basin. So let's pick up from there, insha'Allah ta'ala. It says the basin is true. So we should understand from this sentence that Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the Sunni Muslims, the people of truth, we declare, we affirm, and we believe without any doubt that the basin is true. This is a real thing that exists. It says it is a place in which Allah has prepared a drink for the people of paradise. They drink from it before entering paradise and after passing the bridge. Okay, so if you recall the sequence of events here, the gathering, the assembly, the judgment, the presentation of deeds, these things take place on the changed earth. Okay? But after the changed earth is the pit of hell. And there's a bridge going over the pit of hell. And everyone will try to cross this bridge. Some people will fall off the bridge and will fall into the hellfire. But the people who successfully cross the bridge, they will be in another place on the other side of the bridge. This other place, if you continue going on that side, you will eventually get to the gates of paradise. One of the other things that's on that side of the bridge is the basin. Okay, a basin. It's like you can kind of think of it as like almost like a fountain, except it's not that water shooting up out of it the way it happens in a fountain. But you know how like at the mall or someplace there will be like a built thing with water in it. It's not like a natural pond or a natural lake. It's something that's been built. It's been constructed to hold in a certain amount of liquid. Okay, that's what the basin is. All right, it's a place that Allah has created, and inside this basin, there's a drink. And the people who are bound for paradise, they drink from out of this basin before they go into the paradise. It says, for our prophet, there is a basin to which his nation comes exclusively. No other nation will come to it. So this means that Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his basin is a basin that's exclusive to him and his nation. All right, the followers of earlier prophets, they do not drink from the basin of Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His basin is just for him and his nation. And his basin is very large. It says here, its length is a month's walk, and so is its width. Okay, so the size of this basin is such that it would take a person a month to walk along one edge of the basin, and it would also take him a month to walk along the width of the basin. Okay, just to give you an idea of how large it is. So this basin is basically like, assuming that the people at that time are the same size as we are today, it's basically the size of a state. MashaAllah. It says its containers are like the number of the stars of the sky. So this basin, not only is it a large basin with a fluid in it, but it has something like cups all around it for people to take from, you know, they gather some of the liquid that's in the basin using these cups, and they drink from it. Okay, these containers are so numerous that it's like the stars in the sky. Okay, so that gives you an idea of just how many people are going to be drinking from this basin. It says its drink is whiter than milk, sweeter than honey, and more fragrant than the smell of musk. Allah has prepared for every prophet a basin, and the biggest of those basins is the basin of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we should understand from this that that area after you cross the bridge and before you get to the gates of paradise, there are many basins there. Each prophet has his own basin. Every single prophet has his own basin from which his followers will drink. And the reason why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has the largest basin is because he has the largest ummah out of all of the prophets. It's mentioned in the hadith that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "My basin is a month's travel long. Its water is whiter than milk. Its smell is nicer than musk, and its cups are like the stars of the sky. Whoever drinks from it will never thirst again." Okay, so the people who drink from this basin, they will never be thirsty again after that. Okay, and they drink from this basin before they go into the paradise. And it's mentioned in other hadith that the fluid that's inside the basin, that this fluid actually comes from inside the paradise. So even though you're outside of the paradise, the fluid that's in the basin came from the inside of the paradise. And once the person drinks from it, they will never be thirsty again after that. I ask Allah to grant us a drink from his basin. Ameen. If anyone has questions about the basin, go on and type them in now. If I see them, I'll try to respond. Otherwise, you can just type them and I'll respond to them once I see them, which might be at the end. What's next? It says Sifatul Jannah. This next section, it says the description of paradise. So among the things that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned is that there's a paradise. Okay, let's read what the author, may Allah have mercy on him, said. He said, paradise is true. So what this means is that Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the people of truth, the Sunni Muslims, us, the Ash'aris and Maturidis, and those who agree with them, we believe without any doubt that paradise is real. Okay, it's true. Okay, this is not some kind of allegory. It's not some kind of myth. It's not some kind of, abstract concept. Okay, paradise is a real place. Okay, and it's a place of delight. It's a place of reward. It's a place of never-ending enjoyment and pleasure. It says it is obligatory to believe in it, and that it is presently created as understood from the Quran and the authentic hadith. So the paradise, this is one of those things where you must believe in it. It's one of the obligatory things. It's part of the obligatory knowledge to know that this paradise exists. And the one who denies that paradise is real, this person has denied the religion of Islam itself and no longer qualifies as a Muslim if he heard that this is what the Muslims teach. Okay, if someone just became a Muslim 5 minutes ago and he denied that there's a paradise, we don't say that he left Islam. Okay, we don't say he stopped being a Muslim. Okay, but once he has heard that this is what Islam says, once he has heard that this is what the Muslims teach, well then at that point he cannot reject it after that, because rejecting it after that point amounts to rejecting the deen itself. Okay, you understand that distinction? The person who just became Muslim 5 minutes ago, he's a Muslim now because he said the shahadas. And when he rejected that paradise is real, he did not know at that time that Islam is what he was rejecting. Okay, but once he learns that Islam says paradise is real, after that, rejecting it will take him out of Islam. And this isn't only for the person who just said his shahadas 5 minutes ago. Okay, there might be someone who's been Muslim for many years, and maybe there's some very basic beliefs that he's never heard of. And so if he rejects these things, in many cases, he will not leave Islam for it because he never heard of it. Although I don't imagine there are many Muslims who never heard of paradise. But some of the other things that we mentioned here, maybe some Muslims have never heard of. MashaAllah. It says, it is obligatory to believe in it and that it is presently created. Okay, this is another important distinction of the belief of the Muslims, which is what? It's that the paradise already exists. Okay, we do not believe that the paradise is something that Allah will create on the day of judgment, that it's something that will exist in the future. No, we believe the paradise already exists. Okay, in fact, the Quran confirms that Prophet Adam, alayhi salam, the very first human, was created where? In the paradise. So the paradise existed even back then. And we know from the hadith that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the night of the Isra and the Mi'raj was taken up to the seven skies and what's above the seven skies, and he looked into the paradise. Okay, so it existed then as well. As Muslims, we believe that the paradise already exists, and we believe that it's not going to come to an end. It says in the book, it is above the seventh sky, not connected to it. So if someone asks you, where is the paradise located? It's located above the seventh sky. So I remind you that we right now are located on the first earth. Below the first earth, there are more earths. Okay, there's a total of 7 earths altogether. We're located on the top one, which is the first earth. Below the 7th earth is something called Al-Farsh. Al-Farsh, which is the bottom of the creation. Okay, so you have the Farsh, you have the 7 earths. Then above the first earth is the first sky. And then the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th sky. And above the 7th sky is the paradise. The paradise is very large. Okay, it is more expansive than the skies and the earth. And I remind you that the skies are very large. The skies are very, very large. Okay, when you look up at the nighttime sky and you see all of that stuff, You see the moon and the stars, and some of those things that you look up and see are actually galaxies that are very, very, very far away. All of those things that you see when you look up, all of those things are simply between the first sky and the earth. All of those things are beneath the first sky. Okay, so you can imagine just how large the first sky must be to have all of those things under it. But Allah Ta'ala says about the paradise that it's larger than the skies and the earth. So the paradise, which is above the seventh sky, is larger than the skies and the earth. It's extremely large. And it's not connected to the seventh sky. You know how the earth is not connected to the first sky? Rather, there's space between them. And there's space between the first sky and the second sky, space between the second sky and the third sky. But there's also space between the seventh sky and the paradise. So the paradise is not connected to it. If a person is in the seventh sky, he would not be able to reach the paradise unless he had transportation of some kind or some kind of karama to be able to get up to the paradise. It says, and its ceiling is the arsh of Ar-Rahman. So above the seven skies is the paradise, and above the paradise is the arsh, the throne. Okay, the throne is physically the largest of all of God's creations. It is much larger even than the paradise. Okay, so the throne, the arsh, is above the paradise, meaning that the paradise is below a portion of the arsh. But the arsh is much bigger than the paradise. So there are parts of the arsh that don't have the paradise under it because the arsh is much bigger. In fact, there's a part of the arsh where what's under it is water. Okay, there's a special water that Allah created as the first creation, which is also there under the arsh. So the arsh is very large, mashallah. And we say that the arsh is the ceiling of paradise, which means that the person who's on the top level of paradise, when he looks up, he'll see the arsh. He'll see the bottom of the arsh, mashallah. Okay. Al-Bukhari, may Allah have mercy on him, narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you ask Allah for something, then ask him for Firdaus. For truly it is the center of paradise and the highest part of paradise. And the arsh of Ar-Rahman is above it. In this hadith, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned that the throne, the arsh, is above paradise. And it's above Firdaus, because Firdaus is the highest level of paradise. Firdaus is the highest level of paradise. And so it's going to be the closest of all the levels of paradise to the arsh. Firdaus is also in the center of the paradise. Okay? So it's the center part and the highest part. And our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, if you ask Allah for something, then ask him for Firdaus. This is because Firdaus is the best part of paradise. It's not just that it's in the center, and it's not just that it's the highest, it's also that it's the best. And so in this hadith, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is teaching us to ask for the best thing. Okay? We all know Allah has the power to grant us whatever it is we ask for. So why not ask for the best thing? And when it comes to the human being, the best that can happen to him is to be given Firdaus. MashaAllah. After that, I saw someone said all 7 levels have a name. So the paradise has many more than 7 levels. When people say 7 heavens, you sometimes hear people use the expression, the 7 heavens. Heaven here is referring to the 7 skies. It's not talking about paradise. Okay, this is why I actually don't like to use the word heaven, because most Americans, when they hear heaven, they think of paradise. But the word heaven also can just refer to the things we see when we look up. You know, they say Galileo turned his telescope towards the heavens and he looked at it. Okay, so the word heaven sometimes just refers to the skies and the things that are up, you know, the cosmos. But sometimes the word heaven refers to paradise, and so it becomes ambiguous. People don't always know what you're saying. So my personal choice is when I'm talking about the seven skies and the cosmos and all of that, I say the word sky. I don't say heaven. And when I'm talking about the place that Allah created as a reward for those who are obedient, the place that we all hope to go to, I don't say heaven for that either. I say paradise. Or I might use an Arabic word like Jannah. Okay, because I don't want confusion about when I'm talking about the skies and when I'm talking about the paradise. So I just take the word heaven out. It makes things more clear. Okay, but yes, when we say seven, we're talking about the skies. There's seven skies, and some people might say seven heavens. But as for the paradise, there are hundreds of levels to paradise. It's not just seven. In fact, it's mentioned in the hadith that there are 100 levels of paradise that are just for battlefield martyrs. People who are killed while fighting for the sake of Allah, there's 100 levels just for them. Okay, so there's definitely more than 100 levels altogether in the paradise, mashallah. What else does it say about paradise? It says, its people have the appearance of their father Adam, 6 cubits tall by 7 cubits wide. So in size, the people of paradise, they're given the size and shape of Adam. Adam was 60 cubits high, which is roughly 90 feet. Okay, so Adam was very, very, very tall, much taller than we are today. And when we go to the paradise, the people in paradise, those people will have what? The height of Adam. Okay, 60 cubits tall by 7 cubits wide. Okay, 7 cubits wide is, I don't know, a little bit more than 10 feet wide. MashaAllah. It says they are beautiful in appearance. The people who are in paradise are all beautiful to look at. Regardless of what you look like in this life, you'll be beautiful in the paradise. Okay. In fact, it's mentioned that the people in paradise, they will have beauty similar to the beauty of Prophet Yusuf, alayhi salam. Prophet Yusuf is very famous for his beauty. Many of you know the story of how a woman, the wife of one of the top officers in the Pharaoh's court back in the time of ancient Egypt, that one of these women, when she saw Prophet Yusuf, she basically lost control of herself and tried to force herself on him. You know, that she got a bad reputation for that. Like other women were making fun of her for that. Okay. And so she arranged for those women to come over, and she made it so that they would be there when Prophet Yusuf passed by, alayhi salam. And when he passed by, these women cut their hands off. You know, that's how beautiful he was. Like it's almost as if they lost their minds just from the sheer beauty of this man. Well, it's mentioned that in the paradise, everybody will have the beauty of Prophet Yusuf, alayhi salam. And it's mentioned in the hadith also that the beauty of Prophet Yusuf was half of all the beauty. So if you consider what's the maximum beauty that a human being can have, Yusuf had half of it. Okay, half the beauty, which made him far more beautiful than all of the other people here on the earth, with the exception, of course, of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's mentioned in the hadith that although Allah gave to Yusuf half the beauty, he gave to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam all of the beauty. Sallallahu alaihi wa ala Yusuf wasallam. It says without facial or body hair. So the people in paradise will not only have the height of Adam and the beauty of Yusuf, but they will not have any hair on their bodies. No facial hair and no body hair. However, this doesn't mean they're going to be completely hairless. Okay, no. They will have hair on the head, like the top of the head. That hair will be there. They will have eyebrows and they will have eyelashes, but that's all the hair they will have. hair on the top of their head, eyebrows, eyelashes. No one will have mustaches. No one will have sideburns. No one will have beards in paradise. No one will have hair on their arms or legs or chest. Okay, none of this is going to be there. If you heard someone say that Prophet Harun alayhi salam will have a beard, this is something I've heard, but I haven't yet confirmed. But there are some who say that Prophet Harun alayhi salam will be the only person in paradise with a beard, and that it's a special favor that Allah gave to him. Again, I haven't confirmed this to be true or false, but I know it to be something that people say. In general, though, the people of paradise don't have facial hair, and that's because the facial hair would cover some of their beauty. Like, these people in paradise are so beautiful that to have a beard would actually cover some of their beauty. Okay, they're more beautiful without it. Okay, which is not always the case here in the dunya. MashaAllah. It says at the age of 35 years, at the age of 33 years. So the people of paradise will have the height of Adam, the beauty of Yusuf. They'll be without body hair and facial hair, and they'll have the age of Prophet Isa alayhi salam. As you know, Prophet Isa alayhi salam was 33 years old when he was carried up into the skies. Okay, well, 33 years old is the pinnacle of strength for most human beings, and that is the age at which everyone in the paradise will be. So it doesn't matter if you die as a child or if you die as an elderly person. If that person goes to paradise, they will be similar to the age of a 33-year-old permanently. It says immortally dwelling therein. This means that the people in paradise, they are immortal. They're never going to die. Okay, they enter the paradise and they never go out of the paradise, nor do they ever want to go out of the paradise. And even after billions and billions and billions and billions of years, they're still going to be surprised by the things they find, and amazed by the things they see, and amazed by the things they taste and eat. They're still going to be an absolute delight. It's never going to be boring, mashallah. It says never leaving it ever. Okay, so we should know, though, that this description that we just talked about, this is a description of everybody in the paradise. Okay, it doesn't matter if you were, even if you died as an infant, that person would be, as tall as Adam and have the age of Isa and the beauty of Yusuf, etc. This would be true for all of them. And the people in paradise, they visit one another. The people in paradise visit one another on beds that fly. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, ala sururin mutaqabilin. This means that the people in paradise, they'll sit on a bed. Okay? And if they want to go visit someone, the bed will raise up and just fly him over to the person that he wants to visit. And then he'll sit on his mattress, he'll sit on his bed, and he'll be facing the person he wants to visit, who will be sitting on his bed, and they will enjoy each other's company. MashaAllah. So yes, that means that if you are blessed to go to paradise, you will be able to go and visit Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whenever the mood strikes you, you'll just get up and be taken there. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. And of course, there's no annoyance in paradise. So whoever you visit is never going to be annoyed that you visited them. They're going to be delighted that you showed up and spoke to them, and they will enjoy your company. Okay? That's just the way it is. No one is disappointed in paradise. No one is annoyed in paradise. No one has to wait or be patient in paradise. That is never the case. It's always delight of one kind or another. And the food and drink of paradise, mashallah. I'm glad y'all are enjoying it, mashallah. The food and drink of the paradise, it doesn't convert into urine and feces. It's not like the food of the dunya. In the dunya, we eat and drink, and then afterwards we're going to have to go to the bathroom. In the paradise, no one goes to the bathroom. This is not something that's necessary. Going to the bathroom is something that's annoying. And I remind you, there's no annoyance in the paradise. Rather, the people in paradise can eat and eat and eat and eat, all for the sheer delight of the food, never because they're actually hungry, but they just want the taste of this delicious food. And one of my sheikhs, Habib Kazim, mashallah, he mentioned that, oh, what happened to my camera? Habib Kazim, mashallah, he mentioned that the people in paradise experience the delight of their food with their whole body. Like, I don't know if you ever ate, if you think of whatever it is, that thing that you just absolutely love the taste of. I don't know if it's cheesecake or if it's, I don't know, applesauce, whatever that thing is, that as soon as you put it in your mouth, you just close your eyes and just savor the sheer deliciousness of that food, and your whole mouth just lights up with the taste of it. Okay, well, in paradise, when you eat food, your entire body delights in the taste of it. Even in your toes, you're going to feel the pleasure of the taste of that food. Okay, everywhere in your whole body, mashallah. Okay, so people, they eat food in paradise not because they're hungry, but just because the food is so good. They just want to eat it. Okay, they eat. They'll take whole handfuls and put the whole thing in their mouth, and it won't cause any discomfort. Okay, no matter how much they eat, they don't feel stuffed. They don't feel, slovenly afterwards. They don't regret it. It's delight. Okay, and it's mentioned that the people will find something that looks like a bunch of grapes, and they'll take a grape and they'll eat it, and they'll be amazed by how good it tastes and delighted by how wonderful and delicious it is. And so it tastes so good, they're going to want to take another grape just so they can taste it again. And then when they taste the grape, they're going to be surprised because it tastes different. Even though this grape was on the same bunch as the other grape, it's like a completely different taste, completely different flavor, and they're just even more delighted all over again. And when they take the third one, it tastes different again. Okay? And no matter how much the people of the paradise eat, they never need to go to the bathroom afterwards. Rather, what happens is they sweat out. You might say, I don't want to call it waste because there's no waste in paradise. But the people, instead of peeing and pooping, what they do is they sweat. And the sweat of paradise is a sweat that has a good smell. Okay? It has a smell like musk. Okay? And it's not dirty or oily the way the sweat of the paradise is. Okay? They sweat it out, and the sweat itself is also one of the delights of paradise. Okay? But this is how the food exits the body in a way that's delightful to you and to others, mashallah. It says the hadith that the people of paradise have the image of their father Adam, 60 cubits in the sky, 7 cubits wide, is authentic. So we should know from this sentence that this hadith is it's sahih. I don't know what's going on with my camera today. Next page. The Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said about its description. Okay, so what we're going to talk about next is a hadith. From the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which he describes what paradise is like. But what's written here isn't the full hadith. The actual beginning of the hadith, in the beginning of the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ asks to the companions that were there with him, he said, is there someone who will roll up their sleeves for Jannah? For truly, there is nothing like it. Okay, this is how the hadith starts off. The Prophet ﷺ asks, is there anyone who will roll up their sleeves for Jannah? For truly, there's nothing like it. Okay, what does that mean to roll up your sleeves? It means for you to be ready to do some work. Okay, Jannah is not something that you're going to be able to just live a lazy life and then still get paradise. Jannah is something we work for. Okay, we work for the sake of paradise. And this is why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, is there someone willing to roll up their sleeves for Jannah? For truly there's nothing like it. And then comes this hadith. هي ورب الكعبة نور يتلألأ وريحانة تهتز وقصر مشيد ونهر مضطرد وفاكهة كثيرة نضيجة وزوجة حسناء جميلة وحلل كثيرة في مقام أبدي في حبرة ونضرة. Which means, I swear by the Lord of the Kaaba, it is full of brilliant lights. Okay, when it says the paradise is full of brilliant lights, what you should understand from that is that there's no need to have a sun or a moon in the paradise. Okay, there's no darkness in the paradise. Okay, we don't need the sun or the moon to provide light. The paradise itself is brilliant. It's something that light comes from the paradise itself. Daytime and nighttime are something that the people of paradise will recognize by a sign that Allah puts in the paradise. Not because there's a sunrise and a sunset or anything like that. There's a sign that lets them know that the day has come to an end and the night has begun, or when the night has come to the end and the day has begun. Okay. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if a woman of paradise looked upon the world, like this dunya that we're living in now, he said, if a woman of paradise just looked at the dunya, he said, what's between the east and the west would be lit up. Just from her face looking at the dunya, everything from the east to the west would lighten up. You know, kind of like when the sun rises, it lights up the world. Well, this is what the face of one of the women of paradise would do for the dunya if she were to look at the dunya. MashaAllah. This is what we mean when we say the paradise itself is brilliant lights. Like light comes from the paradise. After that, he said, and fragrant. Here in the translation, it says fragrant musk, but you know, what I understand from the Arabic is that it says fragrant flowers. I'm not certain why the translator translated it as musk, but a rayhana we know is a good smelling flower. But in any event, the paradise is full of good smelling flowers. Okay, and these flowers, they don't have seasons the way the plants of the earth have seasons, where you plant a flower, there'll be a time of year when it blooms and you have the good smell, and then, you know, it's gone. It's not like that in the paradise, even for the fruit trees. Okay, the fruit doesn't have a particular season. Rather, whenever you want a fruit, okay, you will find it there. Okay, if you are sitting down or reclining, then the tree will literally bend over to you so that you can get the fruit that you want, mashallah, and then it goes back to where it was. Okay, and the fruit that you took from the tree will immediately grow back. MashaAllah. There's a tree in the paradise called Tuba, and a person could travel for 100 years in the shade of this tree. A person could travel for what? 100 years in the shade of this one tree. The clothing of the people of paradise, it's made from the leaves of this tree. MashaAllah, the tree called Tuba. After that, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and firmly structured castles. Okay, so the paradise is brilliant light and its fragrant flowers and its firmly structured castles. Okay, these castles of paradise are in the sky. They're like floating. Okay, these castles are not like on the ground. They're floating in the air. MashaAllah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the believers in paradise have a tent made from a single hollowed pearl 60 miles long. Okay, so a person in paradise would be given as a place to live a tent. But that tent is made, it's like carved out of a pearl that's 60 miles wide, 60 miles in diameter. MashaAllah. And there are gardens in paradise of gold, other gardens that are made of silver, and there are lots and lots of gardens in the paradise. The Prophet continued, and continually flowing rivers. Okay, the rivers of paradise, the paradise has many different kinds of rivers. Some of the rivers of paradise contain water. Some of the rivers contain milk. Some of the rivers contain wine, a wine that does not intoxicate you. It doesn't make your mind go away, nor does it make you drunk or sick. Okay, and some of the rivers contain honey. Okay, there are rivers all over the paradise. And it's mentioned that the rivers of paradise, like they don't conform to the physics that we're used to. Okay, like here on the earth, a river flows in like a river bed. There's like a little dip in the ground, and that's where the water flows at. In paradise, the rivers are not like that. Some rivers might be going through the air. Some rivers might be going on the ground, even though there's no riverbed there. MashaAllah. Okay. But our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that there are what? Rivers in paradise that continually flow. It's not like some of the rivers of this world where, you know, in a certain time of year, it'll dry up, but then it'll come back at a different time of year. No, the rivers of paradise, they continually flow. The Prophet continued, alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, and lots of ripe fruit. So among the things that, among the rewards of paradise, among the descriptions of paradise, is that there's a lot of fruit there, and the fruit is ripe. Okay, all of the fruit in paradise is ripe. It's not like here in the dunya where the fruit starts growing and it's not ripe and you have to wait until a certain time when it's going to be delicious. No, the fruit in paradise is always ripe. Okay, and the paradise has everything that your nafs desires. All the things that your inner self desire, the paradise has it. Okay, even if you see a bird flying through the sky and you want to eat it, it will fall down in front of you immediately, already cooked. And then you can eat it. And then Allah, after you eat it, will recreate this bird and it'll just fly off again. You know, you won't even feel guilty or anything for eating the bird. It'll fly off just as it was. MashaAllah. After that, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and beautiful, lovely wives. Okay. Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim, rahimahumullah, narrated that every man in paradise has 2 wives from the Hur al-Ain. Other hadiths say that a man in paradise would be between 100 women in one morning. Okay, meaning like one man would have 100 different women that he could, you know, kind of circulate through these 100 women. You know, he could go be with this one and then be with that one and then be with that one and be with that one. And in one morning he could have, you know, gone and visited 100 women to be with them. And there's another hadith that says the battlefield martyr would be given 72 wives. Okay. Some people have difficulty understanding this. Why does one hadith say 2 and one mention 100 and one mention 72? And the answer is that the people of paradise are not all of the same rank. Okay, people of higher ranks who lived more pious lives in this life, they get a better reward in the paradise. Okay, so there are some people who have 2 wives, and there are some people who have 100 wives, and there's some people who have more than that. Okay. And the men of paradise, their libidos will be much stronger than the men of the dunya. Okay, so a person of paradise, he would have the libido of 100 men. Okay, and he would not have any tiredness. Okay, so like if he decided to be with this woman, then this woman, then this woman, he wouldn't get tired from that. He wouldn't need to rest after one tryst before he does another round, for example. This is not something that, you know, that the men will experience. Okay. Okay. And just as his appetite for sex is multiplied, that he has a libido of 100 men, his appetite for food also is multiplied. His appetite for food also is increased. As for the women of paradise wear khimars, or the khimar, as some people like to say it. A khimar is like a hijab, okay, but it's maybe a little bit longer than a normal hijab. It's something that covers the head, and very often will cover the shoulders as well. The women of paradise wear a khimar because it increases their beauty. Okay, the women of paradise are already amazingly beautiful, but because of the khimars that they wear, they're even more beautiful. It said that the dunya and everything in it is not the equal of just one of these khimars that the women of paradise wear. Okay, like if you could see how beautiful that one head covering is, like you would trade away the whole dunya and everything in it to try to get it. It's not the equal of just one of these khimars. And it's mentioned that the people in paradise are all virgins. Okay, meaning if you lay with your wife, you will find that she's a virgin. Okay, and then if you lay with her a second time, you'll find she's a virgin again, like her virginity was restored to her. Okay, every single time that a man lays with a woman, he finds her a virgin again. Okay, and the women of paradise do not hate one another. They do not envy one another. Okay, yes, it's true that a man might have multiple women, but Allah cleanses the hearts of these women so that they don't feel these things. They don't feel hate or envy or jealousy or whatever else towards the other women that are there. And you should also know that a pious woman, a woman who is pious here in the dunya, and she is rewarded with paradise, her status in paradise is much higher than the status of the Hur al-Ain. Okay, the Hurs are not even human beings. The Hur al-Ain, they're not humans. Okay, these are creations that Allah created in the paradise. Okay, these are creations that Allah created in the paradise. They're not descended from Adam, alayhi salam, the way we are. Okay, these are things that were created in the paradise to be for the pleasure of the people of paradise. And everyone in paradise is married. Okay, there's no one in paradise who is without a spouse. After that, the Prophet ﷺ said, and lots of endowments, meaning lots of blessings, lots of delights, in an everlasting abode that is a luxurious life. Okay, this is the description that the Prophet ﷺ gave for the paradise. And after giving this description, the Sahaba said, Nahnu mushammirun. They said, we are willing to roll up our sleeves. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. It says narrated by Ibn Hibban. So Ibn Hibban narrated this hadith that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam described the paradise in this way. I know some of you have questions about paradise. Unfortunately, I can only answer with what I was taught. I can't just make things up. Okay, so let me go through these questions and I'll see which ones I can answer, insha'Allah ta'ala. But no matter what I say, I will tell you that everyone in the paradise is happy. Everyone in the paradise is overjoyed and delighted. No one in the paradise is upset at the rewards they're given. No one in the paradise is jealous of anyone. Everyone in the paradise is happy. Okay? Superlatively happy. Okay? No one's going to have any problem with what they get. No one's going to have any problem of any kind in the paradise. I'm going to just go ahead and say that right now. For some reason, I thought there would be more questions. Yes, brother, I'm smiling. Maybe not like you, but I'm smiling. MashaAllah. Chicken parm, cookie dough, ice cream, pomegranates. Yeah, those are all delicious. But just know that the food of paradise is much better than the food of the dunya. This is something to keep in mind. Like when you read the Quran, for example, and you see ayahs that mention certain types of things in paradise, or hadith that mention certain types of things in paradise, okay, mention certain types of fruits, such as pomegranate is mentioned in the Quran. Uh, don't think that the pomegranate of paradise is like the pomegranate of the dunya. Okay, it's different. It's extremely different. It's just that of the fruits that we know in the dunya, pomegranate is the closest thing to what that fruit of the paradise is. Okay, but I assure you, it's far better than anything we know in this life. Someone asked, will all of the people in paradise be the same gender? Definitely not. Okay, in the paradise, there are men and there are women. Okay, but I think the question you're asking is, if a woman dies in the dunya and is given paradise, will she be made into a man in the paradise so that she can enjoy all the wives or whatever? I did not hear anything like that. In fact, what I've heard suggests the opposite. What I've heard suggests that if two people are married in the dunya, then in the paradise, they'll be married there as well. Okay, which means the man will still be a man and the woman will still be a woman. Okay, and they'll be delighted forever, inshallah, together, which is beautiful. Then someone asks, are the women in paradise originally from paradise, or were they on the earth at some point? So the believers, the women who are here on the earth, if they die as Muslims, they're eventually going to go to paradise. Those women were on earth and they were rewarded with paradise. But in the paradise, there are people who were never on the earth. There are people who are in paradise not because paradise is a reward for them, but rather they're in paradise to serve the people of paradise. Okay, the people who were rewarded with paradise will have servants there. There'll be young boys who carry, pitchers of drink, carry around, they're at your beck and call like servants. Okay, these boys exist in paradise, but these boys were created in paradise to serve the people who were rewarded with paradise. These boys are not like, it's not the case that someone who lived in the dunya and died as a Muslim and they're given paradise, but then in paradise they're a servant. No, that's not how it is. In paradise, they will be given the blessings, and one of the blessings will be that they will have servants. Those servants were created in paradise to be servants. The Hur al-Ain were created in paradise to be partners for people who were rewarded with paradise. Those whores were never on the earth prior to that. Someone asked, will the wife of the dunya be among them? So, this is not something I can say for sure, because only Allah knows who's going to be given paradise and who will not. But if a man and a woman are married in the dunya and both of them are given paradise, then what's mentioned is they'll be married in paradise as well. I don't have any more information about that, so don't ask me about the man who married someone, then they divorced, or the woman whose first husband died and then she got remarried to a second husband. Okay, I don't know all of the possible cases that can play out. Okay, I wasn't given a whole lot of detail on this subject, which is why in the end I always resort back to one thing I was told, which gives me a lot of comfort on this issue, which is that everyone in paradise is happy. No one has any problems with what they've been given. Okay, paradise is a place that God created to be never-ending delight for those whom he rewards with paradise. If you're blessed to be one of the ones that's given paradise, then just trust in that you will be delighted at every moment forever after that. And yes, someone mentioned a piece of a hadith Qudsi in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah Azza wa Jal said that He has prepared in the paradise. I'm sorry, He has prepared for His pious slaves what no eye has seen and no ear has heard and has never occurred to the heart of a human. Okay, this hadith, it's referring to special rewards that are in paradise and are reserved for the ones who are pious in this life. Okay, that hadith is not talking about the rewards that everybody in paradise gets. These things we've been mentioning today, these are things everybody in paradise gets. Okay, but the person who actually was a person of taqwa in this life, the person who was one of the salihin, the person who was one of the awliya, that person in the hereafter, when they go into paradise, they're going to get special rewards. Not these ones the Prophet told us about, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Allah said that those special rewards, no eye has ever seen them, no ear has ever heard them, and it's never even occurred to the mind of a human. Keep in mind, Prophet Muhammad himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is a human. Okay, so these special rewards have never occurred to him either. Okay, he doesn't know what these special rewards are, so he could not have told us about them. These things that he told us about are part of the general rewards that everyone in paradise gets. But there are special rewards reserved for those who are pious. I ask Allah to make us among the pious. Ameen. Someone asked, can women have more than one husband? I don't know. But I'll tell you this much. Again, everyone in paradise is happy with what they have. Everyone in paradise gets whatever it is they want. Okay, whatever it is the person in paradise wants, they get it. Okay. Now, what will they want when they're there? I don't know. Okay, Allah certainly will clean the hearts of people. So they're not going to necessarily want the same things that we in the dunya might want, because right now our hearts are tainted. The people of paradise, their hearts will not be tainted. They might want some things, but it may be different than what we want right now. Someone asked, are the martyrs in paradise or in the heavens waiting? The martyrs are in their graves. Okay, when a martyr is buried, just like everyone else, his soul is put back in his body and he becomes aware. Okay, but unlike everyone else, the martyr's soul is like stretched. So one end of his soul is in the paradise, even though his body is still in his grave on the earth. And he experiences some of the pleasure of paradise even while he's in his grave, because his soul, like the other end of his soul, is in the paradise. He does experience some of the pleasures of the paradise, mashallah. And because his soul is in his body does not decay. Okay, the battlefield martyrs, like even the ones from centuries ago, if you dig them up now, their body will be as it was. Yes, the word hur is a very funny word. Obviously, this is not an English word. It doesn't mean like what people in America mean when they say a very similar sounding word. You know, the hur al-ain, it just means like beautiful women with big eyes. Okay, it doesn't mean that they're, you know, whatever else, mashallah. Someone asked, will the dwellers of paradise have a recollection of the dunya? I don't recall at the moment what I heard about this. I don't remember exactly what I heard, so I don't want to answer. But there's one question that I skipped, so I'll come back to it now that I believe I looked at everything else. Someone asked, why do people not like the ahbash? This is kind of a big question, and I don't know that I can fully answer it. But I can say that some of my teachers have been from the Ahbash, and I found that the Ahbash were among the strongest teachers that I had. MashaAllah. I found that they were very precise in the way they taught, that they were very clear. And usually those sheikhs held the students to like a higher standard of rigor and memorization than the other sheikhs that I had. To me, it's very clear that they are from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Their teachings are very clearly from the Ash'ari and Maturidi schools. The texts they teach from are all the same basic texts that everyone else teaches from. In fiqh, the majority of them are Shafi'is, and they teach from the standard Shafi'i texts, although some of them are Hanafi and some of them are Maliki, and those ones teach from the standard texts of their schools. They are pretty standard, just normal Sunni Muslims. Why people don't like them, I think it's a couple of reasons. I think there's a big portion of the world that doesn't like them just because of rumors. People who never even met them, who might, don't actually know anything about them, but they've heard crazy things about them. And so it's turned them off to them. And unfortunately, some of the rumors that were spread around were not even true. A lot of the rumors were actually spread by Wahhabis, because the Ahbash, more than any other group, were the ones refuting the Wahhabis left and right. In fact, all of the Sunnis opposed Wahhabism, but the Ahbash are probably the most vocal group in the opposition of the Wahhabis and other kind of astray sects. And I think those astray sects are the ones that hate them the most, and they've spread a lot of lies. Among the crazy things I've heard is somebody claim, and this is an absolute lie, I've heard someone claim that the Ahbash say a woman can go outside in public wearing a bikini as long as she's wearing a hijab. And I've heard someone say that according to the Ahbash, it's haram to eat eggs because the rooster and the chicken weren't married when they made the egg. Like just things that are so ridiculous that it's amazing that anybody believed this stuff. And so like the false rumors, I think, are a big part of why they came to have a bad reputation. Another piece, and unfortunately this piece, has a little bit of truth to it. That is that, how at various points in this book, we've talked about things that take a person out of Islam. When the Ahbash were first taught these things, some of them had a bad habit of rushing and like declaring someone out of Islam without getting all the necessary information they needed to get. Sometimes making mistakes about it, so calling someone a kafir who actually wasn't a kafir. And it happened frequently enough that they started to get something of a reputation for just calling people kafirs a lot. And I would say that that's the thing that made a big part of Ahl Sunnah not like them. But it's important to understand that it wasn't the sheikhs of the Ahbash that were doing that. It was the common people among the Ahbash that were going around calling people kafir. But I believe that that's been kind of reined in now. You don't find them today calling people kafir frequently the way they did decades ago. But that's basically why I think some people don't like them. I don't think there's any real scholarly reason to disagree with them in most things. As I said, what I learned from them was all very traditional standard stuff. Many of their books that they've written have been shown to like scholars at Al-Azhar, for example, and Al-Azhar put their stamp of approval on it. Like the actual teachings are all normal. So I think it boils down to just like crazy rumors, and in some cases, a period of time when they may have been, some of the less well-trained among them sort of cause a reputation for calling people kafir. I'd say that's the reason. Yes, it is connected to AICP. This group AICP is sometimes referred to as the Ahbash. These, it's just a group. Okay, they're not like a different sect. They're Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They're the followers of a particular scholar. In fact, the book we're doing right now was written by the scholar that the Ahbash follow. Although the Ahbash aren't the only ones that follow him. But yeah, like that's the scholar they're mostly associated with. And the book that he wrote is an excellent book. This book is among those that Al-Azhar put their stamp of approval on. So, I think a lot of it is just like, politics and people's feelings getting hurt. And in some cases, some bad manners and some bad decisions. And in some cases, some lies. In the end, though, what I advise to myself and what I advise to all of you is to rise above the politics and the talk. Okay, we don't need to be back talking anybody or talking about this group or that group. Okay, we need to worry ourselves with how do we get to paradise? Okay, we need to worry ourselves with how do we make ourselves better people? And we need to benefit from wherever we can benefit. Okay, I studied with many of the Ahbash because I saw that it was beneficial to me. And if any of you want to study with them, I'm telling you, it'll be beneficial to you as well. But I also study with people outside of the Ahbash because I see a benefit in that. Okay, Allah did not put all of the benefit in just one group. Okay, the benefit is spread all over the world. And if you're sincere, inshallah, Allah will give you success and grant you the good that you seek. I don't know about families, sister. If you have children or cousins or someone that you were close to in the dunya, if all of you go to the paradise, I never heard that you would all be together. But like I said, people in paradise can visit one another. So if while you're in paradise, suddenly you have a desire to visit your cousin, well, if that cousin is also in paradise, then guess what? You will see one another. You'll be able to meet one another and spend some time with one another. But I don't know if it's going to be like all living together in like one big happy family or something like that. This I don't know about. Are there any other questions? Okay. Well, alhamdulillah. Let's say La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Rabbi ighfir li wa lil mu'minina wal mu'minat. رب اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات رب اغفر لي وللمؤمنين والمؤمنات. Barakallahu feekum. I'll see you inshallah ta'ala next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.